Hey, good morning. We're going to go ahead and get started with our seafood labeling public meeting to cover House Bill 602 and seafood labeling. I want to thank everybody for being here this morning. I know that online we have a few folks that are joining us virtually, and you'll have the opportunity to submit questions virtually. Our Chief Scientific Officer Rick Burris will be monitoring uh, the the email address that's provided to you to submit questions electronically, and we will address those later on in the meeting. Uh, Once again, we will thank you for the opportunity to be here. And, I know that for, Commissioner Gibson and for Director Spraggins, they want to make sure that we make this process as seamless and as streamlined as possible, and make sure that we get the information out to the public regarding seafood labeling. As we go into conversations, it's important to know this, that we're learning how to swim together. There are lots of questions that are coming in from people, a lot of different individuals that are submitting questions about how they need to, as an individual and as an entity, implement seafood labeling. And we're thankful for all the questions that are coming in. We do have this in place, inside of the legislation. There's the establishment of a task force that's created by the governor. And in that task force, there has to be the governor or designee. There has to be somebody, the commissioner of agriculture or designee, the director of the Department of Marine Resources or designee, the Mississippi Restaurant Association, the director of tourism, a commercial fisherman, and somebody that's a seafood processor. And so there's going to be this task force that's going to be created to address future legislative needs, to address regulatory needs, regulation, and then also marketing. And so all these questions that are coming in, I want to encourage people, keep asking questions, and as we move forward in the future, we will be able to bring all of this information to the table and discuss it. So, for those of you all that may be here, thank you for attending. If you need to use the restroom at any time, you go up this ramp, go into the hallway, take a right, and the restrooms are there. There's coffee in the back, there's some waters, and so we thank you for being here. Right here, we have a slide, seafood labeling at dmr.ms.gov, QR code. If you want to save that, that'll bring you to the website. It'll also bring you to the frequently asked questions that we have, and you can scroll as we're going. Maybe some of your questions that you have later on can be answered on that website. But want to encourage you to save that, because as we get information in, we will be updating the website. So, what is House Bill 602? And what is a seafood labeling law? It was enacted to increase seafood transparency and customer confidence. Simply put, the bill puts it this way: in no way shall the consumer, uh, you know, not be able to make an informed decision. You cannot misrepresent to the public the product. And so people need to be able to make an informed decision on what they're purchasing. We were discussing it the other day. Imagine if we went to the store to purchase some diamonds, go into this diamond store, and they say, in this store we have cubic zirconium, we have lab created, we have the real thing. Nothing's labeled. You don't know what you're buying. Everything's the same price. Okay. That's not being able to make an informed decision. And so we want people to be able to make an informed decision on what they are purchasing. It was designed to help consumers in that informed decision. It supports America's domestic seafood industry. We are thankful for the hard work that the men and women do in the seafood industry on the Mississippi Gulf Coast, and the hope is that we put Mississippians first, that we put American seafood first, that we support the domestic industry here in the United States of America. And so it's a way to support America's domestic seafood industry. We hope that what it'll do is it'll make, in some regards, a product here in Mississippi more desired than other products. We want it to be number one. It goes into effect July the 1st, and we will talk a little bit about that in a bit. It goes into effect July the 1st across all food service settings. So if you touch seafood and you're selling seafood from the processors, the wholesalers, dealers, retailers, the restaurant industry, it will affect you and goes into effect on July the 1st. We've had some folks ask, well, is this just the coast? No, it's all 82 counties, the state of Mississippi. It's throughout the entire state, from restaurants from South Mississippi all the way to North Mississippi. If you're serving seafood, you're required to start abiding to the seafood labeling law. So make sure for those folks that are up north, it does apply to you. Who's responsible and what needs labeling? Like I said a minute ago, it applies to processors, wholesalers, retailers, seafood dealers, restaurants, and food trucks. What seafood does it include? Saltwater finfish, crustaceans, mollusk. It excludes catfish, okay, because there's separate legislation for that, but it does include crawfish. And so it's all seafood and crawfish sold in Mississippi. It's required to be labeled as domestic or imported. Labeling must appear on menus, packaging displays, ads in a font that is equal to the product name. We'll talk about that in a few minutes. A lot of the questions we've had coming in, especially when it comes to the processors and the packaging from the processor, does the cool requirement where the country of origin that's on the back, will that suffice? Well, if it's the same size font as the product that's being sold, we'll talk about that if the country of origin is there where somebody can make an informed decision. So what is imported? If it's harvested, raised, and or processed outside of the United States, it's imported. Processing imported product in the United States does not make it domestic. That does not make it domestic. And so that's imported product. When it comes to domestic product, if it's harvested, raised, and processed in the United States, it's domestic. The entire life cycle of that product is in the United States. If I have product, we've had people asking the question, what if I have my fish here, I get them from in the country, I ship them to South America, they're processed in South America, they come back to the United States, that's foreign product. The entire life cycle of that product was not in the United States. At that point, it goes outside of the United States, it's foreign product. And so when you think about, somebody's going to ask, well, why is that? Well, they have different regulations there. Okay, we have regulations in the United States when you think about USDA, when you think about FDA, when you think about the protective measures that have been put in place here in the United States of America, and we're proud for the food safety that we have. Once it leaves here and it goes somewhere else, we don't know how it's been regulated. We don't know how it's been processed. We don't know that it's been inspected. We know when it's here. And so that's domestic. We've had some people even ask this question. It's interesting to me. What about product that I get from Texas? I get my product from Texas. We hear that a lot. We have product in Texas. Well, the answer is this. The entire life cycle, was it harvested, raised, caught, processed in Texas? If it's American product, then hey, it's domestic. Okay, so making sure you know where your product's from. I just mentioned a second ago, and we're going to dive into prepackaged examples. Okay, so you notice on this product, on the picture on your left, it has in there product of India on the back. and it's pretty small on the back. And this may be what imported product will look like that's coming in. This may be what you see at freezers right now. On the front, it says large raw shrimp. Now think about this for a minute. If I'm coming from Montana down to Biloxi, Mississippi, and I go enjoy some of the products that are there, when I go to a store here on the coast, I'm expecting that I may be getting seafood from the Mississippi Gulf Coast. Somebody needs to be able to make an informed decision. So for that package alone, pre-packaged, to be able to suffice, the country of origin or imported would have to be in the same size font where it says large raw shrimp. That's option one. Option two, if you look over on the far right of the photo, you see an example of what a cooler would look like. Inside of that, you would have this product packaged as it is. When the consumer comes in to purchase the product, it would be in the freezer. They would be able to walk up to the cooler, and on the cooler, it would say imported shrimp. They know that there's an expectation of the items in that cooler are imported product. What if I serve both? If there's a differentiation that over here I have imported product and everything in that cooler is imported product, but over on this side I have domestic product, as long as both products, when the consumer walks up, they're able to make an informed decision on this is imported product, this is domestic product, they're able to make a choice. And so we want people to be able to make that kind of informed decision. They know what they are purchasing. And an attempt that was made to do that. Somebody said, well, what if somebody accidentally, they're over there, they walk over and they're standing at the imported cooler, they have the bag of imported in their hand. I know when I go to the grocery store and I'm looking at seasoning, sometimes I change my mind a couple times. I may put one back, and maybe we don't always put things back exactly where they came from. What happens if there's one of those packages that the customer drops off? Well, does the majority of what's there, does it represent? Because people will sometimes move things around, okay? Were you trying to allow the consumer, the customer, to make an informed decision? And if one of them accidentally ends up over there and it's an accident and accidents happen, you know that because you can't control every customer that comes in there and moves things around. Some more seafood labeling display examples. If you see the photo on the left, we just talked about that one, imported shrimp. In the middle, domestic seafood. If you want to be able to label product as domestic and you put it out there, if everything in that case is domestic, or if in your restaurant you're serving all domestic, you can put a sign out that says, we proudly serve all domestic seafood. You can have it out there. Everything has to be documented, and if you're asked to verify the product, you have to be able to verify that all the product is domestic. Over on the right, there's another example, Gulf oysters domestic. On both the picture in the middle and the one on the right, we've had some people asking the question, do I have to label every item? Like every little thing, does it have to be labeled? Because what if somebody moves a sign? No, if you have all domestic product here and all of those oysters are domestic, you can have one sign in that ice bin that says everything in this bin is domestic. As long as it covers all that product, it's been verified, you're documented, you know that the product is all domestic. Signage options. If your restaurant uses only domestic seafood and crawfish, you can display, we proudly serve only domestic seafood in a prominent spot instead of labeling every item on the menu. So you can have a sign there. It has been coming up. What if I only serve all imported seafood? If you serve all imported seafood and you want to be able to put somewhere in a very prominent location, when I walk in that door, I know that I'm walking in and it says, we only serve, or we proudly serve, all imported seafood in a very prominent location where the consumers be able to make a very informed decision, and they know that all the product in that restaurant is imported. You can have a sign that says everything in our restaurant is imported. You can do that. If your restaurant If the decision is made from a menu, it must be played in a prominent location on the menu. An example, if you see down on the bottom, seafood dishes, all items imported. And so you can put something on the menu. If you want to have something big on the menu, when they open it up, on the front of that menu, big and bold, they know that, hey, the items in this menu are imported. They're able to make an informed decision. This applies to food trucks also. And so you see the example there in the food truck. We had somebody call us up, and I was glad that this guy called up because he was excited to say, "Hey, I only serve domestic seafood in my seafood truck." That was great to hear. You know what? He's supporting Americans, and we want to encourage that. And right here, the thing that you see on here, we proudly serve domestic seafood in a prominent location. He asked, "Can I do that?" Yes, you can, as long as they can make a decision. Another one is a blackboard example. Today's menu. Here you see examples on there. It says a grouper sandwich on the bottom, domestic, $15 coconut shrimp, imported, $18 fried oyster basket, domestic. You see that on that slide? Maybe you're a restaurant owner and you don't want to change your menu right now. You can provide inserts into your menu. You can have examples like this blackboard. What if I'm a restaurant and today we typically don't carry a certain product, but today I found out I was able to get some grouper and all the grouper's domestic, and we decided to sell it, and it's all domestic product, and today we want to provide that domestic product. Have a blackboard there when the customer walks in the door, they're able to say, "Hey, the special of the day is a grouper plate. The grouper plate's all domestic. I want that one. I understand it, so I'm going to make that purchase," and it's very clear. When it comes to menus, if you have mixed seafood product, crawfish, and origin dishes, you can put on there, this product contains both imported and domestic product. A good example is a gumbo. All right, we all make gumbo a little bit different. Some of the gumbo is, you may have crab in there. You may have shrimp. Some people put crawfish in their gumbo. Some people put fish in their gumbo. If you have a mixed product and you have gumbo and you have multiple products in there, you can label it as imported and domestic if both products are in there, imported and domestic. The questions come up a few times. What about advertisement? Do I have to include domestic or imported on a billboard or website not on my property? No, the designation is only required on site in a prominent location. However, if customers can order from your website, the designation must be included. Now, we discussed this just the other day, and several people have asked the question. Maybe you're somebody who supports one of these food delivery systems where you order your food, they deliver it to your house, and or deliver it to you at work. And today, you decide that, hey, I want a grouper sandwich. So you get online to your local vendor. You go there. You want to order a grouper sandwich. Whenever they go to that point of sale, that it may be online, and they're making a decision, if it's on that website is where they're purchasing your product, at that point they need to know, am I purchasing domestic or imported grouper? Where's it coming from? That's when they're making that decision on what they are purchasing. If you're using a third party platform that is selling your product for you, that product, then that third party vendor is required to advertise your product as is, whether it's imported or domestic. So make sure the consumer is able to make an informed decision. It says, can I use the country of origin to label seafood or crawfish in lieu of the terms domestic or imported? Yes, if it is in a font that is at least the same size as the name of the seafood or crawfish being sold or promoted. All documentation and labeling must support the claim that the product is domestic. And so if you want to put the country of origin on there, When you think about, uh, you know, different products, if there's you know, a certain product that may have an allure to it to where you want to put that country of origin on there next to the product, foreign or domestic, as long as the documentation, if you're asked, if you put something on there that alludes to this is a American seafood, okay, it's an American product, then you have to be able to prove that it's domestic product. If you put something on there, saying that it's imported, if you want to put on there that this is a product of China and it's in the same size as the product being served, you can do that. Can I use abbreviations such as I or D or other symbols in place of import or domestic? No. And so you cannot, change what's being there. Uh, Individuals need to be able to make an informed decision on the product they're purchasing. Now, I'm thankful to know that as this is being implemented, there's a few folks that uh, you're going to be working with. I know that the Department of Agriculture has a team of inspectors that are going to be going out. Here at the Department of Marine Resources, we have our Seafood Technology Bureau. They're going to be working with the Office of Marine Patrol. I'm thankful that Chief Wilkerson and his staff have been preparing to roll this out. They're ready to work with you and make sure we're all, like I said before, learning to swim together. Whenever you go on the website, you'll see there that Captain Jack Ewing is going to be the point of contact when it comes to seafood labeling, and he's prepared and ready to answer questions as they come in. And you know what? A lot of them are coming in. And just be patient with us. We're sorting through everything the best we can. And for those people that are requesting, and if you go to our website, dmr.ms.gov, you can request a courtesy inspection and be patient with us. We're trying to get out and, fulfill that need as they come in. Just do a walkthrough, talk things out, have a conversation, a one-on-one conversation with you. We are here and ready to do that. Whenever somebody comes in there to do an inspection, whether it's the Department of Marine Resources or the Department of Agriculture, they're going to look at, can the consumer make an informed decision? If you walk in there and you're advertising a product as domestic, you need to make sure you have the documentation, the receipt, the bill of lading. If you show that you have American product, they want to be able to, walk with you to the office or walk to the back. We don't want to do this. We've been having discussions. We don't want to disrupt business, and so we're trying to make sure we do it at times where things are calm. They can go in there. They look at your signage. How the consumer's making a decision. You go look at the product. If everything matches up and the product is American, and you go in there and it's labeled American, your bill of lading, your receipt shows that it's domestic product, the officer will move on their way. In those situations where they come in there, it may say domestic. Hey, is it okay if we look in the cooler real quick? They go in the cooler, they look, something's off. They look at the receipt. The receipt may or may say something different, and they say, hey, we may need to take a little bit deeper dive here and see what's going on. Okay, so the seafood labeling law inspection form, while you see a paper form here, our aim is for everything to be digital, but this just shows you a flow of some of the information. They may come in there and need the restaurant owners or the processor, the wholesaler, the retailer, the dealer, the food truck, get the owner's information or the manager, the designee that is there, and just talk through to be able to document that check. In certain situations, like I said, if we need to take a deeper dive, the legislation allows for there to be able to be a DNA sample. In most cases, the plan is to make sure that the owner or the manager, whoever the designee, whoever's over the operation at that time, they'll know when that DNA sample is being taken to verify the claim of the product. There may be times where somebody thinks They're advertising their product as domestic. They are purchasing their product, and guess what? You think you're purchasing domestic product, but through conversations, you find out that that product's not domestic. In those cases and in those situations, we may need to take a DNA sample, get it processed, see what it is, and inside of the bill, there is a good faith reliance claim where it appears that the owner made a good faith effort to make sure that all the product was as what was being purchased and being sold to the consumer, and so in that situation, uh, that would direct the inspectors the direction that they need to go. Okay, they would go the direction they need to go, and then you'd be able to move about and make corrective actions to make sure you're selling product to the consumer that's being advertised. A first time mistake when it comes to consequences of violations, a first time mistake will be given uh, notified writing and 3 days to correct the violation. So whenever someone makes a mistake the very first time, there'll be a discussion. You have 3 days to make corrective action. The inspector will come back, see if the corrective action is taken. If so, the conversation's over. You move on. Now, if you make that mistake, in the beginning, and then the inspector leaves, and you say, well, I'm just going to go back to doing what I was doing before. The inspector comes back 2 weeks later, and you were doing what was done when you were given that 3-day warning. It's not going to be another 3-day warning. At that point, we're going to be talking about a first offense and so on. And so I want to encourage everybody just to start preparing. Once again, I can't stress enough, document, document, document. Making sure you document everything, that you're prepared, you know your product. And like I said, if you go to dmr.ms.gov, and thank you to those of y'all who have done this, if you want to have a courtesy inspection, we would be honored to have somebody come out there and even have, if you want to sit down and have a one-on-one conversation, we welcome that. Making sure everybody's comfortable with this rollout. When it comes to steps to compliance, what should I start doing now? Audit all your seafood origin and sources. Make sure you know your product, know what you're selling, making sure you know what's on your menu, know where your product's coming from. Somebody asked the question, what if I'm purchasing my seafood from somebody who will not tell me where the seafood's not coming from? You tell them that they need to tell you where the seafood's coming from, or maybe you need to consider doing business with somebody else. You need to have that traceability on where your seafood is coming from. You need to update menus, packaging, sales displays, or any form of advertisement prominently available to the public with appropriate labels. Train your staff. Inside of the legislation, it talks about being able to you don't mislead in any way. That includes verbally. So make sure you train your staff. If they don't know, tell the customer, I don't know what we're serving or we have today, what we're having today. Find somebody who does, because if you tell somebody, hey, where's that grouper from? Oh, they caught that grouper right here in these waters, right out front. It came from the Mississippi Gulf Coast, and that grouper came from overseas. They're being misled. Okay, so you need to make sure that those who work with you, they know the product's being served, they know who to go to get the answers. I'm going to say it again and again. Keep supplier documentation. Document, document, document. Make sure you keep that. Have the information here. Once again, if you want a courtesy inspection, you can go to seafood labeling at dmr.ms.gov, or you can call 228-523-4142, 228-523-4142. Here's the website, and I want to stress it's the intent. Is the consumer able to make an informed decision? It's the intent. It's making sure that when somebody walks in and they're trying to decide the product they want to purchase, are they able to clearly see what the product is and make an informed decision? if in doubt, label it. Label it. You know what it's like to be able to make an informed decision. We all purchase things. We want to know what we're buying. So make sure that people know what they're getting. Here's the website. And at this time, we're going to welcome any questions. I mentioned that our Chief Scientific Officer, Rick Burris, is following any questions that are coming in off the internet. Do we have any at this time? We have no questions at this time. We're going to give just a second. Does anybody here have any questions? Anybody participating today have any questions? Yes, sir. I want your question, but for the people that are joining us online, I have to get you to speak into this mic, and then that way we can all make sure we're getting it. Thank you, and I apologize for having to stop you.
I want to ask a question. Years ago, when I was young here in Biloxi, the restaurants that I used to go to was a White Pillars and Barracifs, and they used to have a sign saying sweet caught shrimp in the Gulf of Mexico. And I don't see those signs anymore, and I'm just wondering, was that something that they did on their own, or was that a law that you were supposed to do that at that time? You understand my question? When you went into the restaurant, there was a sign with a shrimp on it, maybe. I can't really remember, but it said, fresh, sweet Gulf shrimp. Letting you know that it came from the Gulf here. And, you know, it was processed in Biloxi at the factories, whether it be Dijon or Marvers. But I don't see those signs anymore. And I'm just wondering, how was that done, you know?
Yes, sir. That was most likely done just by the restaurant wanting to let their customers know where their seafood's coming from. And there's a lot of restaurants that do that now. But moving forward, beginning July 1st, all restaurants and retailers will be required to do that based on this law.
Good point. Thank you. Thank you.
Want to take the opportunity to thank the people that are attending virtually. For those of y'all that joined us today, if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to call. But we have no further questions, so we're going to close this meeting. So thank you.